If you guys haven't seen, Microsoft puts on these really awesome kind of content summaries every single month of different things that they've released. And it's where I pull a lot of the information for today's presentation up. There's like a 45-minute video that goes along with it as well. So you can look at those on your own time, but I'll cover over some of the highlights and try and demo a couple of the things here with you today. So the first thing that they did is they integrated the ribbons and panes to look more like the rest of their Office products. So this is just a screenshot of what the old Power BI ribbon used to look like. And if you come into it now, you'll get to see this way more consistent feel with Excel and Word and PowerPoint, how you just have a few tabs up here at the top, and then with just some of the familiar with your get data here instead. I guess it's kind of good that it's consistent. It makes people who are jumping into Power BI for the first time just feel like this is a tool I can just immediately jump into. There's no surprises in there. They have hinted at, with this new ribbon, there's not a whole lot of changes immediately, but it does open up a lot of their future content to just be cleaner and more dynamic with their other stuff. For example, the visualizations pane, it's always lived here as a separate column pane, which is a little different for Power BI. This is probably the first thing that you need to explain to somebody. Here's how you start a visualization. Whereas I think they're going to be putting that inside of this insert as well. So they've got text boxes, buttons, shapes. It'll be visualization in here as well. They've also hinted at the ability that they can do a dark theme easier now. A true dark theme. If you've ever tried to use Microsoft's, like just whatever, if you go into like dark theme here, it tries to do it for Power BI, but the ribbon at the top is never able to get it, and these panes here can never get it. So hopefully one day we can get that dark theme and not look at this white. If you try and do dark, it's worse for your eyes. There is some things, I guess, as far as filters was one of the things they put in their update. I thought it was kind of funny. If this is too obtrusive for you as a minimized bar, you can now hide it completely to get that extra 3 centimeters of space on your screen. So you're welcome for that too. I think that's it as far as the ribbon that I wanted to show. They've done some things with the themes as well. If you're familiar with the themes of the past, how it basically worked, you could go online and you can download some templates from, they just had a big store of tons of templates, and you could customize it yourself with JSON, and you could get as detailed as you wanted. So every time there's a certain specific bar chart, you can make different values and different colors be, the primary color be this, the title, the font needs to be this, it needs to be bolded if it's a title. And they've realized that JSON isn't the most friendly thing for people picking up Power BI. So inside of these themes, you can now do a customize. And instead of having to type out some hexadecimal values and stuff, you can just select from this, which is a lot cleaner. I've got a few of my own favorite hexadecimal values memorized, but I'm sure everybody doesn't have that. And you can do some things like if you want every single title, you can have that be a certain font family if you want. And if you've got different cards, tab headers for visuals, and they're only going to expand this in the future. So they'll have specific visuals you can have. So this is just a lot cleaner and nicer than the JSON. And if you do create a theme that you really like, that you just want to keep consistent with your company, you can just export it the same as you were able to before. Even though it's grayed out right there, I think it's just because that's a default theme. It kind of mentions that you can't export just one that's already there, so you've got to do something. Updates, they have some new visuals that they've been doing is the KPI. It was kind of cool. They highlighted a specific developer who he just himself has contributed his time and work to Microsoft. So if you use the KPI, you just have some current metrics with some goal metrics. They've done a lot with being able to change the trend, the transparency. I tried creating one. I don't really have historical data with this data set. First of all, the data that I'm working with, this is pulled off of some esports website, and it just has the top 100 games, the prize money that those games have had, I believe, over lifetime. I don't think you can get 216 million in a year. Maybe you can. I don't know. And then the players, the tournaments and stuff. So I was trying to create the KPI visual. So if we look at total earnings, I just did like a quick percent of like the total earnings by 5% increase to try and use as a goal, but I don't like have a date with this data that I got. So as far as like a trend, it's not going to show anything, and it's just going to show like we're 5% behind from what we did. But as far as the updates to it, they just let you can turn the trend access on and on. You can make this a lot more transparent if you want. You can do more with the goals and labels. So that was some stuff they didn't have before. There was a cool new visual that I was playing around with. It's the decomposition tree. I think I already had one out here actually. Yeah. So what this is you can just select the first thing that you want to start analyzing by. So this is for the games data. I just did prize money, and you can explain it, just all the dimensional attributes that you have. So you have players, you have the game, you have the category. And so if you look at the prize money, you can come out and you can do what games contribute to the most of this primary. Dota 2 is up there. Fortnite's going to overcome it in the future. And then by this, you can look at the Fortnite. You can look at the players of the Fortnite. This might not be the best data set because it doesn't have individual player names mixed with this game's one. It just has the total number of players. Or if we wanted to, we could do category, and then we can come into MMOs and see the different games that make up the MMOs and the percentages of them. So there's some really cool visualizations there. The light bulb icon that you saw, that will just always take what it considers to be the most descriptive value. So this category was the thing that it could line up the most. And again, if you come out here and you do high value again, it'll probably break it up by the game of the category instead of the players. And what's cool about these light bulbs is if you were to just set it yourself as I always want to see the game and then the individual players for it, it would just always stay that way. But if you use the light bulb, even when you're doing some filters, it'll kind of change what's displayed on there. So if I had selected something different, it might not always do category. I think in this case, category is always going to be the most descriptive. But also there's a quarter function. So I don't know why this didn't exist before, but it broke Josh's report because he hadn't updated yet. And it had a broken visual for this little graphic right here. But it's essentially just you can just do quarter, and you can just do the quarter off of any date. So if you ever tried to do that yourself before, you had to parse it out by the date. Also with the ribbon, you can minimize this top one as well, which is similar with the other Office apps that they've got. I wanted to show you some of the matrix though. So this custom URL was kind of in the introduction. They don't show you how to create the measure, but so I just created this measure called Google search. And so it's just the string value of google.com search with the question mark Q. And then you can dynamically base this off of like the max of the player's top game, for example. And so what's useful is if you're inside of this is just a simple matrix that if you come into the formatting, it's in the conditional formatting, or if you don't know where things are, you can always just search them. So it's got this web URL of top game. So if you turn this on, it immediately pops up and it says you want to make the top game Google search. And so now when you're able to come into this, you can dynamically base off of, if you just have a generic thing, like you can just open up a Google search for whatever is on that thing. So if people were not familiar with your data, they wanted to come in. And you don't have to do this as a Google search. You can put it as the company page and just whatever this parameter will take you to. And there's a lot of different ways you can kind of do just metadata on whatever you're presenting. You can do some tooltips, you can do certain buttons to do different layouts. So it's really, you just kind of have to know your audience and what they like. Maybe build 2 or 3 sample reports for them and see, do they like having a button just to click and view? So I talked a little bit about the themes, the pins. They did have like a Azure Insights. I don't think I was able to see this because I don't have Power BI Premium, but they have started to get into a little more of, I guess what Tableau is what I'm considering as a competitor in it, of just being able to transform your data and do more with it. So they've got some like text sentiment analysis in there. So if you have a string of like a review or like a legal description of a certain row, then you can do some text on it and get some analysis. And then the other things they were introducing with that was like image tagging and then machine learning with some of that. And you're able to import some of your other machine learning. And then The December update, it was a little different than, instead of Microsoft showing it off, they invited all their vendors. So they had XViz, somebody from Zebra BI, Zoom Charts, Quirion, and they just demoed their thing. So rather than me trying to download a bunch of different reporting tools, these are basically third parties who develop visualizations that you can use inside of Power BI. Some of them are free, some of them are free up to a point, and then you've got to pay for their premium to get all their features. So yeah, if we just go into the December one was where this was at, if you're looking for more of them, if you're just wanting to get ideas. But yeah, so it kind of breaks it out just by companies. So XViz is one of the more popular ones. They've got like 12 or 13 visuals, and they really refine and make some very industry specific visuals. So if you're looking for specific ones for sales or for marketing or for accounting or different things, so things that Power BI might not come with in general, but they also have the online store that users can update their own, upload their own. But I think if you're wanting more of a professional feel with something that you can actually put in an end level report, these third parties are going to be some ones that you want to look at. I think I had one, because we are an accounting firm, they kind of had one that just is there. They just have one kind of visualization right now of, or one of profit basis as a financial reporting matrix. So some things like, if you don't want to sit there formatting and doing some things for subtotals and some rows, here's just an example of like what you can do with third parties just really easily. And then these connectivity updates, I've never paid enough attention to know what are the 200 different ways you can connect to data through Power BI, but I just put a list up there. So if we send this out, and if you're using any of these tools, and they just are always updating this. There's always a way you can get around getting your data into Power BI. You can get APIs, you can download them to CSVs and import them into Power BI that way. But the more that people are asking for these ideas, if you get on their ideas page and you just say, hey, we're using this tool, and a lot of people upvote it, they'll probably build some type of connector to automatically get the data in just a live query format that's just a lot more convenient and a lot more user-friendly to pass on to somebody else who may not be familiar with the APIs, and uploading them that way. One that I did use recently. So if any of you guys are using Azure DevOps for like an ETL board, inside of there they have, it might be one that you have to enable in the preview, but it was able to like take all the certain tickets that you had like on your sprint boards, you could pull those in and it would automatically have all the tags, like if this was a bug, if it was resolved, and you can get a lot of that data just instantly in your thing and have it be live with whatever your sprint is. So the Azure ones are pretty neat. And then they've done Power Platform. I don't know if anybody is on the Power Platform, or have you used it before? And so they've got a lot more of, you can build Power BI straight off of those Power Platforms instead of doing the two-step program of exporting the data and then importing it back in. Oh, and I was going to mention on the December, these are pretty easy to access as well. They just all have like an app source link. So if you're like wanting to look at this specific chart, you can just download the visual from app source, and then your Power BI can utilize it from there. And most of them are free to start, and then they have premium to get some of their extra functionality in it. I think that was all I had to cover for new updates and features.